I think I was just looking to have a good time. I was young and I felt adventurous.
Looking at these videos and photos of Nicole Collins from a few years ago, it's hard to recognize the woman she is today. That's the heart of Nicole's message, that through God, real change can happen.
I personally prayed a genuine prayer, and I said, Lord, please don't allow me to look like where I came from.
For 20 years, Nicole was a lesbian and transgender man. Back then, she went by the name Esco in the clubs and the streets of Los Angeles, where she was known for partying, violence, and drug dealing.
I had what they call street cred. I had people that would do things for me. It was a lot of a power trip and a mindset that I had, kind of like a alter ego.
It seemed to help her leave behind the rejection she once felt. Nicole says she was 5 years old when a family member began to rape her. The abuse continued for 3 years.
He would use torture tactics as a way to get me not to disclose the abuse, and it altered my personality, and so I was kind of like withdrawn.
When she was 8 years old, her mother became a Christian and started taking her to church. Nicole was baptized, and as she grew up, church became her outlet and an environment where she was nurtured and mentored. But during her senior year in high school, Nicole says she was involved in a conflict with a few members from the congregation that she had once admired.
I didn't want anything to do with church after that situation. I was looking up to leaders at a certain standard and putting them on a pedestal that I should have been more focused on God, but I didn't have a relationship that was so solidified like that.
So after graduation, she looked for love and acceptance in other places.
I went to meet a young man on a party line, and there was a lesbian girl over there who looked just like a man. So she was transgender, and I mistaken her for being the guy that I was going to meet. And the guy that I went to meet, it was absolutely no love connection. So she was so nice. She was telling me about a club in Hollywood, and she invited me to go to this lesbian club, and I took her up on the offer. And when I went to the club, it allured me. It was like lights, camera, action. There were celebrities there. It just drew me in because homosexuality is camouflaged as acceptance.
Within 3 months' time, in 1995, she dropped out of college and began embracing a new masculine identity and same-sex relationships.
I was always very insecure about my body. I didn't have curves. It looked easier for me to fit in, not being physically developed. Within 3 months, I shaved off my hair. I shoved all my women's clothes off into the corner. I just wanted to just fit in with this new crowd of people. By the time I was 19, I was smoking weed. That led to drinking. Drinking led to trying lines of cocaine. I began to get my own hustle. By the time I was maybe 20, I was considered the dope man.
But in the eyes of her mother, Yvette, she was a daughter that needed unconditional love and fervent prayer.
Because I knew she was out there doing drugs, and I knew she was drinking. So when I would see her come, I would be so grateful to God that she came home in one piece. And when she would get in the house, I would take advantage of that moment and take blessed oil and put it on my hands and just rub her down with oil. And I would command Satan to loose his hold on my child.
I kept running from God. He was constantly sending people to me, giving me signs. I was constantly missing a drive-by shooting, or something just happened right before I came. And it was like, I just didn't get it because I was so high. I was so intoxicated all the time.
On a Saturday in 2014, Nicole's fear became reality. During a fight over drug money, a man attacked her from behind with a hammer. It was caught on cell phone video and shared on social media.
The impact of that hammer clobbering me on top of my head was so hard, I thought a car jumped the curb and hit me. Miraculously, I got up off the concrete with no injury.
Thankful to be alive, Nicole returned to her childhood church the next day.
I went down the aisle. I got down to the altar to ask for prayer, and I just began to break down and cry out to the Lord and ask him to forgive me. It was just so much turmoil in that lifestyle. It was never any peace, and I was lacking the peace that I once had, that relationship with my Heavenly Father that I was gravitating back toward. All the self-guilt, the condemnation, all of the rejection that I experienced, the Lord began to heal those hurts.
Nicole says she is completely delivered, but her transformation didn't happen overnight. First, she started attending church and counseling. Then, months of prayer and fasting.
Because some things only come out through prayer and fasting. I went back to my first love, which is Jesus Christ, and I began to hunger and thirst after his righteousness, and he began to fill my cup and build up my self-esteem and my confidence and make me feel good about myself.
But God has changed her heart, her appearance, her mindset. She's preaching the gospel. I would say to that parent, don't ever give up. Get on your knees and pray to God, because God is the only one that can change a person's life.
And Nicole says she's proof that the power of prayer prevails. Today, she's a confident woman who finds acceptance in God. Nicole has authored several books sharing her experiences. She speaks around the country, telling others how God saved her and gave her a beautiful new beginning.
It means the world to me that God would beautify me. God is a deliverer. Don't give up on your family members. Don't stop praying. And if it's you who's in bondage, all you have to do is cry out to the Lord and he'll turn your life around.